Damn, son, where'd you find this?
Yeah, Harriet Tubman in Seattle. Green Book Blues and Blacktal Fractal from the two most recent releases from Harriet Tubman, strong ones. Most recent, The Terror End of Beauty, and Araminta before that, which I educated myself today was the birth name of Harriet Tubman, Araminta. Harriet Tubman in town to play a couple of nights at Demetrio's Jazz Alley on the stage there. I look forward to that. Always a treat to see you. Let's talk about this music. For me, I love it so deeply, and it brings in so many aspects of things that I'm almost familiar with and want to be familiar with. It is at once, grounded in experience, but brand new as well. Band's been together for like 20 years and developing. Yeah. Right?
21st year. Right?
This is year 21 now.
And did you come together with do you think you all had a clear idea what this music was going to sound like when you started the project, or did it morph?
No, we had a clear idea we wanted to make music. I mean, what it was going to sound like.
We had a common belief. We had a common belief on just how we wanted to perform and write and play music. But beyond that, we went from there.
Yeah. I love those earlier releases, and I'm going to go back and revisit them because I've been so heavy into the most recent ones. J.T. Lewis with performance credits ranging from Whitney Houston, Elvis Costello, Lou Reed, Debbie Harry, and so many others. Also with Brandon Ross, Arrested Development, and so diverse a palette. But it's the connection between that more literal, grounded, four on the floor music and avant-garde jazz. How did that marriage work?
Well, I mean, the thing of the three of us have in common is that we had really great mentors, and we have mentors from all sides of music. And one of the things that was really important for this band was to make sure that the information that our mentors gave us kind of went past their generation. So there are different systems and ways of making music that people associate with certain sounds of music. What we wanted to do is take that same sort of systematic thinking and apply it to the sounds that we grew up on. And that's kind of what we do at Tubman in a nutshell.
Nice.
And I'd say it's a no musical apartheid song,
Yeah.
I remember JT and I were playing in Henry Threadgill's band Make a Move, which is where the seed for Harriet Tubman actually sprouted.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we were in a rehearsal one day, and Henry had brought in a piece, and he asked me to play through it. We were learning and rehearsing it. And after that, JT said to me, "Hey, man, you ever play trio? Like loud, like guitar, bass, drums?" And I said, "Well, yeah, but I haven't done it since I've been like 15 or something." He goes, "Yeah, we should do that sometime. You know any bass players?" I said, "Well, yeah, you know Melvin Gibbs? He's actually rehearsing down the hall with the Rollins band."
And I laughed.
Oh, yeah.
Because we played with Defunct together.
Oh, yeah.
Years ago. So, it's a full circle. All the three of us go full circle through lots of spirals of different music.
Yeah. I was going to mention the name of Henry Threadgill because I saw you in his large double-up ensemble like 3-4 years ago. And
double-up? He doesn't have any guitars in double-up.
Two pianos.
Two pianos.
I saw you walking in the door.
I was in the room to hear it, that's for sure.
Threadgill is a mentor, as a milepost for the music development because his process is still so much in process and still so creative and thinking outside of even his own confines, which is almost like learning a new language, being around.
It is a language. My playing changed after my experience with him. He opened up my creativity and really taught me how to appreciate my own creativity.
Sweet, yeah.
I saw we were out in L.A. yesterday, and I had lunch with Michael Gregory Jackson, guitar player, who is I've known him most of my life at this point. And we were just talking about, he had come to our gig and at the Blue Whale and really loved it. And we were talking, and we got to this point, because a lot of us share all of these people. And I'm thinking about, like, Ronald Shannon Jackson, Ornette Coleman, Threadgill, ACM guys, Wadada, Leo Smith, different people that we've been associated with. And really the thing was that what you're doing is the thing that you're doing. And what people call it, or the way that they need to place it somewhere, is another thing altogether. Mm-hmm. And the whole thing with Harriet Tubman, the metaphor of her life and what she did in the context, she just wasn't going to be a slave. That wasn't her, she didn't see herself that way. She wasn't going to be that way. And with us, it's the same thing. People keep trying to put us someplace, and I understand from a commercial standpoint, a marketing thing, but it's always misleading. And the simplest thing that happens is just let us in the room. We show up and let the people respond. And they consistently always are like, man, thank you all for coming. I mean, I don't know what you call this, but this is great.
Yeah, that's it. Harriet Tubman was also a leader, and you're doing your share of that as well. And I'm a grateful follower.
And it's also, it goes both ways. The audience, we're sharing, but the audience is sharing something with us. But at the same time, we're reminding listeners that they're free as well. They're free to listen and make their own decisions on, And sometimes people forget that they can think for themselves. You can think for yourself. You don't have to be like a lemming following the crowd off a cliff. You could say, oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah, okay, I'm familiar with some of this. And this is enlightening and refreshing. And sometimes you have to, remind people, cold shower, that they can think for themselves. And that's part of the freedom thing as well, It goes both ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's hear another piece on the most recent release, The Terror End of Beauty. I was delighted to see Redemption Song show up on the playlist there. It's a work that's been resonating in my mind for the last year and a half, really strongly, and I love the way that you do it, the way that you undo it and put it back together. Harriet Tubman, live at KEXP. Am I on here? Yeah, thank you very much. KEXP Seattle, Redemption Song. We're in the studio with Harriet Tubman, Melvin Gibbs on bass, J.T. Lewis on drums, and Brandon Ross on guitars. That's gorgeous. I love that version. I think Marley would love that version. I wanted to ask about two other names of collaborators. One was Wadada Leo Smith, with whom you worked on the 2017 release Araminta. And then I just want to bring up the name and continue to put the name of Sonny Chirac out there, because it is an influence I see and a collaboration I see with a lot of your work, and I think vastly misunderstood, underappreciated artists. You talk a little bit about those two?
I'll give that Melvin and JT work closely with him.
As far as Sonny's concerned, I mean, he's Carlos Santana's favorite guitar player. So that kind of speaks for itself. I mean, I was in the band with Sonny, the Sonny Chirac band, and actually Santana, I don't know if they still have it in the set, but they were playing one of Sonny's songs. So he's a real influence on him. And as a matter of fact, I saw a thing in Rolling Stone a few weeks ago where Carlos said he wishes Sonny still was alive so they could tour together.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
Yeah.
I love the way when Carlos comes out on stage anywhere, he says John Coltrane, first thing he says. J.T. Lewis, do you work with Sonny Chirac? Were you on that Bill Laswell production?
Yeah, I was on, and I was on the original experimental rhythm section, which was the predecessor of Herbie Hancock's Rocket Band, which had, the original Rocket Band had Laswell, Sonny, Henry Kaiser, Michael Beinhorn, and DST. So I had a chance to tour with Sonny and just to pick his brain. He was such a brilliant human being, not just about music, but about life. And I would just sit next to him and just ask questions, and he'd have the answers.
Certainly fearless about music.
His honesty was engaging to me. He, like you take people for granted when they say, "Well, hi, I want to come by," or "Let's," and you're just trading. But one day he said, "Jay, let's play," and I said, "Sure." Of course, half thinking that he meant it. The next day, my wife looks out the window and he said, "There's a guy in front in his car with an amplifier. He's just sitting in front of the house." And I looked out the window, and it was Sonny. And he came to play. Yeah. And I looked at him. He says, "You said you wanted to play." And that kind of honesty, it permeated his playing. He wasn't messing around.
We'll start a campaign to get more Sonny Chirac music out in the world. How about the collaboration with Wadada Leo Smith on the Araminta release?
I think that was actually an idea of Greg Tate's.
Oh, nice.
For us, that he had seeded a while back. He said,
undersung genius.
Yeah, and Greg is he'll just drop something like that. Like he'll say, "Yeah, you all should do something with Wadada." That was it. And I thought about it. We all thought. I said, "Hey, why don't we do something with Wadada?" Everybody was like, "Yeah." So I asked Wadada. Wadada said, "Yeah, come down." And we recorded in JT's house.
Wow.
And our rehearsal studio is in the lower level below the parlor floor in JT's building. And Wadada actually was standing in the hallway outside of these double doors playing into a microphone.
Like the old Motown records.
Yeah, exactly. And we cut, I think Neander is on there with him. And it's every time I listen to that track, the way he comes in after all that stuff we were doing, and he comes in just like out of this other frame of reference, and remembering that this is at the time a septuagenarian was doing this stuff with more energy and vitality than a lot of people you hear, through any generation. And for me, one of Wadada's contributions to me during those sessions, I remember saying to him, Wadada, I've been thinking about the idea of velocity, or how you can communicate speed without a metric reference, like 18th notes, 16th notes, whatever that is. And he was saying, well, Brandon, and I said, I've been trying to, find a way through it. He said, well, I always thought about concentration of activity rather than this kind of thing. And just that little kernel, and then you go back and you listen to Wadada, and it's like, right. It's fields and areas of activity that are communicating on a whole other kind of organizational sensibility. And I think that's certainly, and not just from Wadada, but for each of us, how we put together what we do. Because people always say, well, how do you guys do that? And we do it just as we are. And then often we go, oh, okay, that's what that is. And it's really funny. We had to do a gig, and JT couldn't make it, and Melvin and I were working with a drummer. And Melvin was explaining to the drummer what JT's doing from his perspective, and I'm like, really? I thought he was doing this other thing like this, and then I said, JT, I'm not doing either of those things, and it's always an enlightening experience,
Harriet Tubman, KEXP Seattle. We have room for one more. I see it's an unreleased tune, and I'm eager to hear about it a little bit before you play. I'm thinking about these connections that we mentioned earlier in the introduction, but also bringing some Delta blues, avant blues into the mix here. Which is this on a release? It's forthcoming.
It will be on the next release. Yes.
Same label.
Well, we haven't. Can neither confirm nor deny that at this point.
I just wanted to bark up with a little note of support for the Sunnyside label out of France. I mean, those two recent releases, are kind of brilliant, and there's not a lot of people doing that.
They've been great for us.
Yeah.
So, yes, we love those people.
They actually came forward when all the other usual suspects were like, they passed on it.
Yeah.
So.
I'm so glad.
They've been great.
Tell us about, what are you going to say?
Well, this song is the fruit of a trip that we took to Mississippi. The original idea was to go down to the Delta and meet some of the older blues guys there and kind of see what our commonalities were and our differences and get inspiration. But we ended up meeting a man named George Cardwell in Holly Springs, Mississippi, who owned a local record store and was a local businessman there. And he kind of became our guide / entree into the world of hill country music. And as a matter of fact, we ended up going to R.L. Burnside's 75th birthday party.
Wow.
And hanging out with those people and learning a lot about the music. And I wouldn't say it's that style of music is an inspiration. I think it's also really those people and how they live. I mean, more than anything. And just hearing that music in context. Because when you listen to blues in New York, it's kind of like a drinking music. It's like you go to a club music. But down in Mississippi, it's dance music. And it's just got a different, it's when you think about the blues, you think about the suffering, but when you see it in context, you realize it's just as much about the release. Mm. And just a little bit about the conceit of this song. The lyrics are actually based off of a supposedly true story that happened in Gullah Geechee country, which is Gullah Geechee country is a series of islands that kind of start near Charleston and end down in Savannah. And I believe the island itself is St. Simon's Island, and was a bunch of African Americans who did not want to be in America. So they decided to go to the beach, and they held hands, and they walked into the water and went home. Mm. And the song is about that.
Harriet Tubman, live at KEXP Jazz Theater. Harriet Tubman, live at KEXP. Gentlemen, thank you so much. It started off as a life-affirming event, and it ended up times two. It's just been so great to have you here. Brandon Ross on guitar and vocals, Mr. J.T. Lewis on the drums, and Melvin Gibbs on the bass, Harriet Tubman collectively. Thanks so much for being with us. It's KEXP 90.3 in Seattle, around the world, KEXP.org. You're tuned in on Jazz Theater, and we're super glad to have you along. Thanks for your support of the station, and thanks to everybody at the station for doing the great work that they do. KEXP Seattle. Right on, man.
Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.
Damn, son, where'd you find this?